Welcome to the Be Ruthless Show, where we have the conversations that other people don't, the conversations that other people won't. I'm your host, Sam Ruth, and I'm ready to make a lot of noise and disrupt things, ruthlessly. Thanks for being here today. Now let's get to it. Welcome back to the Be Ruthless Show. I'm your host, Sam Ruth, and it is the last Monday in February. We are just flying through 2023 here, and it is also National Eating Disorders Awareness Week from Monday, February 27th through March 5th. And this is a really important topic. All awareness days and weeks and months are important, but what is different about this topic is that if someone is dealing with an eating disorder or with an unhealthy relationship with food, they still have to eat. We need food in order to survive. And if somebody has a drinking problem or a drug issue, they can stop that altogether. And we cannot give up food altogether. And we are surrounded by food, and social events and gatherings are often centered around food. And it is everywhere we go, and there are billboards, and it's just so much of what we do. Topics and places that we go are connected to food. So I want to talk about all of it. And I'll start off by saying that the National Eating Disorders Awareness website, NEDA, is having different events every single day of this week that are educational and informative. There is a helpline, and you can go there and learn, and you can share the links. You can share the website with any and everyone if you want to learn, become more educated, raise your awareness all week long. Like I said, each day has a different topic, something you can learn, and you can go there. I am going to put that in the show notes, and you can go there. You can share that with any and everyone. I'm not going to discuss those things in this episode. I want to talk more in general about what we can do as individuals if you are struggling with body image, with an unhealthy relationship with food. It does not have to be an eating disorder. I'm not talking about if you meet the criteria in the diagnostic manual, and maybe you do, but I am just talking about in general. There is so much shame connected to this, and that's a problem. If people suffer in silence and feel like they can't talk about this, these problems get bigger and last longer. And that's what this show is all about. I want to bring up the topics that people need to be able to talk about with each other, with someone, whether that is a professional, a friend, a family member, someone. 988, you can always call 988 and get connected with a licensed professional. You can reach out to me, also licensed professional. I just want people to start getting it out there and recognizing that we have more in common. We are more alike than we are different. I was talking to a client recently who started and was struggling and feeling so alone and so embarrassed, and now recognizes that so many people are dealing with the same things. And whether it is weight, drinking problems, family issues, bad grades, whatever it is, we all feel embarrassed and like we're the only one going through it. And I promise you, if you just say, I had a bad night, I'm having a rough week, something general. I'm not saying you have to spill your guts. If you put it out there to people you feel comfortable with, you don't have to go on the air like this on a podcast. I'm talking about with people you feel connected to and comfortable with, I promise you, someone else will say, oh my God, me too. You are not the only one. And all it takes is one person. If you are out to dinner and you don't feel like having a drink and you say, you know what, not drinking tonight, someone else is going to say, you know what, me neither. It just takes one person being the first. And that's what happened with my client. So many nights he didn't feel like drinking, but everyone else was, so he had a drink. And one night, finally, he wasn't in the mood. And he said, I'm not in the mood. And someone else said, you know what? I'm not either. And that's how this conversation got started. And so I just want to put that out there, that whatever it is you're dealing with, big or small, others are going through it, and you don't even have to share what it is. It just starts with being willing to say, I'm not in the mood. And others feel comfortable enough to say, I'm not either. So back to, it's National Eating Disorders Awareness Week. What does that mean? And how can we all use that, share that? Just like I mentioned, we don't have to share our personal stories, spill our guts. People feel like, oh, we have to go back to our childhood and share everything. I'm not saying that at all. I don't know that anyone else is. If you want to, and if you feel like that, certainly it's welcome. But I don't even think that's what psychologists expect, right? I am all about problem solving. And if people say, what type of psychologist are you? I am solution focused. I am client centered. I am heart centered. So I think there are so many assumptions out there. And before we just take it for granted that things are a certain way, I think we can ask the questions. So what can we do? We can all just say, did you know that it's National Eating Disorders Awareness Week? That gets it out there. Most of the world probably does not know. So simply sharing that is doing more than a lot will do, because if you don't know that it is, you can't share it. So you can simply do that. You can share it in a conversation. You can share it in social media. If that's your thing, you can share it in a video, like whatever you would naturally do on a typical day, do that. If you want to do more, you can make a donation. You can look up what eating disorder program centers are in your area, in your town. Are there any? There aren't many in the country, so there probably aren't tons. And I would love to know, is there one in your area? Share, reach out to me, sam@samantharuth.com. You can always, like I said, go to the website, NEDA, and look up what event is happening on the day you happen to be listening to this. It will still be there if this week is over. We can still always become educated, right? Even if it is not an awareness week, we can still learn and become more educated any day of the year. We'll know more for next year. There's never a bad time to learn, and we can always share. There's never a bad time to educate others in a polite way. I don't want to push this on you or anyone. I'm not asking you to do that. Do it in a way that's natural or comfortable. If it feels that way, if you feel like sharing this, great. I appreciate it so, so much. There's someone struggling. And if they know that they're not alone, if they know that there are resources out there, if they know there are people who want to help in a way that isn't pushing a meal plan down their throat, if they know that they can call 988 and find a therapist that will work with them that way instead of a way that hasn't worked in the past. There are so many people who have had a horrible experience. If there's someone who is struggling, who's never gotten help yet, but maybe is ready to now. If you are thinking, how do I know if I have a problem? That's enough for me, right? I don't care if it meets criteria or not. An unhealthy relationship with food, what is that? Spending more time worrying about what to eat than you are enjoying food. And I'm going to use myself and a silly example because I'm a vegetarian. And currently now in this day and age, that's not difficult. Restaurants have vegetarian friendly options all over. When I moved to Colorado, I was thrilled because Michigan didn't. Now they do. Vegetarian options are easy to find. But it is in my friend group, there aren't many of us. I'm teased. People will say, have a piece of bacon. I don't mind at all. Doesn't bother me. There might be some sensitive vegetarians out there. I'm a vegetarian because I don't like meat. I've never loved it. I also am an animal lover. I never have liked meat on the bone. It just doesn't appeal to me. It's just personal choice. I don't preach it to anyone else. You can eat meat right next to me. I will not be offended. I might not like the smell of some certain things, and I'll choose to move a chair or two down the road. I've had friends eat fish, like the whole fish, with me. Grosses me out a little bit, but that's fine, right? But I'm pointing it out only because as a vegetarian, I have to think ahead years ago and think, will there be something on the menu for me? Do I have to eat a little bit now in case all they'll have is salad? Am I going to have to bring snacks or have something with me? Think about somebody allergic to something, gluten. It's difficult. They have to do more, plan ahead, always have things with them, and make adjustments and accommodation. And that is just a lifestyle of food adjustment, not an eating disorder. And mine is a food choice, not an eating disorder. I'm bringing these up as examples because there are difficulties that I go through shopping at restaurants, and it takes up more time and thought in my life. And there are people who mock and tease. This is my life by choice. Eating disorder, not by choice. People struggle and have difficulty and challenges that other people do not see because these things are invisible, and these things are struggles that the rest of the world does not know. And these are conversations that are not being had. And so what is this week about? Why am I talking about this? Why do I want you to share that this is National Eating Disorders Awareness Week? Because people are walking around suffering with things that the rest of the world is unaware of. And mine is by choice to be a vegetarian. But a food allergy or a food illness that is not a choice, that people are unaware of, that restaurants might not make accommodations for, that people might not have choices and then have to have limited options. They should have as many choices on the menu as everyone else. So I'm bringing this up because we can do more to make the rest of the world aware so that restaurant owners can have as much available for everyone, and so that schools can have as much on the menu for everyone. And so we can do our part to make people struggling feel comfortable enough to say, there's nothing on the menu for me. I'm hungry. And to make people who are struggling with how they feel having the conversations, under eating, overeating, eating in secret. This is one that isn't talked about enough and needs to be talked about at an early age. Parents, teachers, nutritionists, doctors, professionals, we need to address how to have these conversations in a fun way at an early age so that nutrition can be talked about and fun, and drinking water can be made fun, and having a water bottle and putting stickers on it and talking about health and nutrition in a way that is fun can be a part of life that we do as a family, as a class, in a way that is fun, so that people who are dealing with things that can be underweight or overweight, that is not by choice, thyroid issues that are not by choice, that kids can end up being teased, not by choice. I have a client who was underweight and teased and bullied and picked on, and would come to my office crying and trying to gain weight. People think that it is just overweight kids who get picked on. This was a girl who was beautiful, but bullied and would do any and everything to gain a pound. We need to do better. We need to come up with ways to do better and understand better and find ways to work as a community, as a culture, to understand what people go through that we don't see. And so thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing, if you choose to do so, that it is National Eating Disorder Awareness Week, and people go through things that we don't see. Millions of people are walking around with things that we don't see. And it could be chronic pain. It could be so many things. This week, it happens to be National Eating Disorders Awareness Week. There are so many people struggling with so many things that we don't know. And this is just one example of the many reasons that we need to ask questions and have conversations and have compassion and be kind and understanding and recognize that there are things we need to know more about. And if we don't know, we need to ask. And there is much we don't know. There is so much we don't know. You are walking around with something that much of us don't know. And it could be something wonderful. It could be something exciting that you're waiting to share. But there are all sorts of things that we don't know unless we have the conversations. So thank you so very much for being a part of this community. It is National Eating Disorders Awareness Week. I would love if you would share that with someone you know in a way that feels natural to you. Until next time, always be ruthless. Thanks so much for listening today. Your support means everything to me, truly. If this podcast resonates with you, please do me a favor and join in the Ruthless movement by making some noise and doing one of these 4 things. Subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Tell a friend so we can break stigmas even faster. Leave a review so people can see what you think of the show. And last, if you want to learn more about me and be a part of the Grief Hab community, please head on over to the Facebook group. We'd love to have you. Thanks again for spending your time with us, and see you next week.